Wake up, buy here, pay here people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhoads on the Buy Here, Pay Here Morning Show. Take it away, you two.
Hey,
good morning.
Happy Wednesday.
Welcome to Wednesday.
Mhm.
Hey, by the way, what happened to Tuesday? Did you do something with it? Oh, I just got a text from Jack Carter. He's joining momentarily.
Okay.
Jack is our guest today, but he's at an auction, and so there's stuff going on. So we'll get started. And have
Yesterday
him join
was a busy day. It was a busy day.
It was full.
And like the night before, Monday night, I did not sleep at all. And so I was joking with Jim that yesterday was everything I could do to feel motivated in the slightest.
Mhm.
So I'm a
been
list
there.
person anyway, so it's helpful. It didn't get through my list as fast as I normally do, but yeah, it was rough. And I think by 7 I was ready to go to bed, and I like, nope. So we went for a walk and all that so that I could wake up and be
Here comes Mr. Carter. We see you in the
somewhat
background
rested.
back there.
Hey,
We'll bring you
Jack.
in just a moment. So
But
Yeah.
yesterday, for me, it was stupid
yesterday
crazy.
was kind of intense for me. I've been reformatting the V8
Oh my gosh.
stuff for all of our
and each group has needed to have like a lot of work, and so it's been hours.
I just been invested the time in kind of getting things formatted the way I wanted it to make it a little easier going forward. But wow, the investment was significant. We had a really great meeting last night. And, anyway,
one more for the month, and that's next Tuesday on the 30th, and that's the newbies.
That's not next Tuesday. That's 2 weeks.
Oh, I'm sorry, 2 weeks. Yeah. Next week we're going to be in Vegas.
Right.
So we will be at the Neo User Summit.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of our clients use Neo, and we've been able to do a lot of training in Neo.
We're going to be there. We're going to be there. Stuff.
Yep. And so if you're going to be at the Neo User Summit, please find us and say hello.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got meetings all week long. Our interim CEO is there, and our others
who shall remain nameless
right now. That's going to be there.
And
it's going to be a really great. And we also, on Friday, we will be in Vegas when we celebrate our 300th episode.
300th episode.
Yeah. So 300.
We're forgetting to mention the dealer roundup tomorrow.
Oh, goodness gracious. Yes. Tomorrow, dealer roundup, 3 topics. Let me pull those up.
It's 100%
virtual
roundup. Let me just share that Brent Carmichael with NCM, the longtime trainer, coach, moderator, will be co-moderating that with me. We'll be doing 3 sessions, one around hiring car salespeople for Buy Here, Pay Here, Lease Here, Pay
Can
Here.
you teach an old dog new tricks? So those of you who are not familiar with old car dogs, this is kind of what it's about. Second one is going to be outsourcing. And we're going to talk about BDC and whether or not that makes sense. And then the last one is private money.
Yeah. And when the subject of old dogs came up, we looked around and said, "Do we know any old dogs?" And Michelle looked at me. What?
So
no, I definitely bring in the.
We're talking about people that have been born, bred, and raised in just regular Buy Here, Pay Here.
Sure.
Or not Buy Here, but used car sales or new car sales.
Hey, we got California in the house this morning. There's Georgia. Good morning, Brian Adams. Vic Everett. Glad to have you here.
Yeah.
Vic told me the other day he listens to us on his morning exercise. So
nice.
He's out west.
We do. I can start to do some, beatboxing. So you have okay.
No. Yeah, let's move on.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Oh, there's plenty, but for today we can save those for later. Just don't forget about that dealer roundup, that virtual. And if you grab your ticket, even if you can't attend live, which is going to be true a lot of times when these are during the business. If you can't attend live, you can always catch it later as a recorded event.
Yeah, because it does include the recordings. Sure. So anyone who has a ticket gets free access to the recordings. So you can just watch it on here. Yeah.
Text me.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and our clients, it's too, especially because we'll.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So shall we bring in our guest?
I'm just watching him. I'm watching him struggle.
Yeah, he's ready. He's good. Okay.
He's ready. Good morning, Jack. Oh, you're driving.
He's going down the road.
Oh, I can't hear you.
Oh, we don't have audio.
Dude. Is your audio connected to your car, or is or something, because we can't hear you at all.
So take your time. If you need to step out of the thing and check your settings, we don't want you to have an accident.
So if you need to back off for a second and then come back in, we'll get the topic organized.
We're not looking for a live
I wish I knew sign language and you could just sign me, but you're driving and that's dangerous. So
you probably have to check the settings inside your StreamYard there where your connection is. It's probably going to be on that. And sometimes it works, Jack, if you just disconnect and reconnect.
Yeah.
We had that with another guest.
So the topic for today, I give you a little bit of background is I'm the one that peruses Facebook. I'm the one that just and Jim does too, because I'll be like, have you seen this? It's like, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that at 4 a.m.
Yeah, he's up at 4.
Yeah.
So
how about now?
I can hear you now. There you are.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So you out on a demo drive? Are you looking to buy one? Or are you in your own car?
No, I just I left the auction recently, and I've got another car to go buy, and instead of taking up another employee, I'm just in the tow truck to go get it. So
there you go.
Nice.
So this is part of the fun of the morning show.
Yeah,
we get to dealers where they are. I love it.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's absolutely right. So we were talking about why this topic was chosen, and I watch an awful lot. Dealers will post just ridiculous negative reviews, and sometimes you just sit back and watch. I wish I could swear on this. The S show, the bad show, the crap show that just plays out, and it's just kind of like, someone said something nasty, so someone said something nasty back, and it's just nasty, nasty, nasty. And then I saw some reviews that Jack posted and how he responded to those reviews. And I was like, this is brilliant. And so I think this would be a great topic for us to talk about, how to handle negative reviews, because if you're in the buy here, pay here world, you're going to get them.
Oh, man. And you deserve part of them,
Yeah. Yeah. So do you write those reviews yourself?
And then respond?
I am. No,
yeah,
That's
right.
a great idea. Well, I think there's some things that we have to talk about and think about, and that is, first and foremost, is the negative reviews are the only ones that people read.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Who reads you see the 5 stars scroll.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They liked it. That's the bottom line. They liked it, right?
Yeah.
But it's the response, it's the negative ones that people read. That's the ones that I feel like, you better address them.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not really talking to the author. You're not talking to the author of that review. That person already doesn't like you. They're already mad at you. You're showing people, you're showing potentials how you handle problems.
Good.
That's great.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And you want the reader, the potential customer, to see, okay, XYZ happened. Here's, and here's how the guy that runs the place or owns the place feels about it, and here's how they're going to solve the problem. And I just, it's such an opportunity to show your character, and who you are.
Right.
So yeah. I find some enjoyment, because you can always, you can almost always knock somebody back down a peg with just kindness, courtesy, not running from the issue, address it. But also, I really am big on telling the truth on the reviews. If we screw up, I'll say, hey, man, we screwed up. Let me fix it. But I think if you run your business in a way where you're ethical and you feel strongly about the decisions you make and that you're good to people, then why not tell the bad story? Why not tell, what happened? And so I just never back down. I never back down, and I just tell the truth about whatever it was, and then, see how I can help them. And, and the author, they never come back. They never want anything. They never,
Sure.
Yeah.
It's all about the potential. It's all about the reader.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. And my mother, wise word, she says, never say never, because I've watched some of these reviews as people are working on them. There might be a follow-up review from someone. It's like, oh, they fixed it. It was wonderful. Thank you so much. Appreciate your help. But it doesn't happen
100%.
very often. So don't answer with the anticipation that you're going to get a glowing review with that same customer at the end of your dialogue, because it's not going to happen most likely. But I like what you just said, is that in a review, you're talking to your future customers. You're not talking to your current customers. You're not talking to that customer. You're talking to your future customers. And, you said too, potential. And I'm like, let's change that to future, because everyone that, is reading those things is, let's look at them as like, all right, you're going to be in here someday. And so I want you to experience what, how we handle things.
Well, and
I like that.
You keep in mind too, that a lot of people that will read that, Jack, may never actually come down and buy a car from you, but they certainly have an idea who you are and how you do business. And so if they meet somebody tomorrow who is in the market, is going to have a chance to put that sort of, approach in front of lots of people. So other thoughts. I mean, I was thinking about this too, Jack, in terms of how do you, right now you write them all. And of course, Michelle and I spend a lot of time trying to help dealers figure out how to move toward absenteeism and be there less. And so I was having fun kind of thinking about how would I advise somebody if I was going to have somebody sit in that chair and write those reviews on my behalf? How would I coach them up? What would be the bullet points that I would give them that I wanted to make sure that we included in our approach or in our language to, the write up? So I'm sure you have some thoughts there. I kind of captured a few myself, but you got some ideas about how you would, like, what are the things that you feel like you try to do? You shared a few. Any others that come to mind that you try to do when you sit in to respond to one?
We lost you again.
I
can't hear you.
Well, let me share. It may work better. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead. So I might just share the ones that we did, because I just basically, if I were thinking in terms of how do I train somebody, like if I were to just ask somebody to do what I would be trying to do, and I've responded to these kind of reviews in the past. And
sorry about that. Every time I get a phone call, my audio stops.
Yeah.
So I think the first general rule of thumb is just it applies to so many correspondence that we might have with other humans, and that is to wait.
Explain that.
Do not respond with an angry email. Do not respond with an angry text.
Absolutely.
Do not answer a 1-star review for 48 hours. Do not. Because it gives you time to digest it, and the emotions kind of come out of it. You can get your story straight. You can talk to the employee that dealt with the customer. It just changes everything. It changes everything. Wait. Yeah. So I think for me, that's probably like those 2 reviews, Michelle, that I think you're referring to that I posted a couple weeks ago or whatever. I waited.
Good.
Had I wrote that review from the guy that was fussing at us about not being able to get into the shop immediately because he wanted instantaneous service, had I wrote that the minute I read it, my tone wouldn't have been correct.
Sure.
And Jack, those of you who know Jack know that Jack is funny. Jack finds some way of just making light of everything. I mean, I've watched some of your, because I watch a lot of stuff that's happening on Facebook, but where you're going around a car and you're like, pointing out everything that's wrong with it and then creating some kind of story or whatever. And it just makes it enjoyable. It makes it super transparent. But Jack has a way of just expressing that's funny, and not everyone's going to be funny, but it really makes you humanize your responses. It's really, really human. And I love what you said about waiting, which, Jack, we all know that is probably one of the best piece of advices for being a human, period, is don't respond quickly. If that's someone,
right.
Pardon?
That's right. Yeah. Do not respond. Do not respond when you're emotionally tied to it. Wait until, just let it settle. Give it a few days. You can collect your thoughts. Half the time you can find out more information. It just changes the response 100%. It changes it. And there's nobody, the review police aren't out there. Why hadn't this guy responded yet? It's going to be there forever. Just give it a minute.
Yeah. And it's not going to make that much difference. I had a couple of Your Cause Auto is and turn the response into an advertisement for the way you do business. We will not be deterred in continuing to help thousands of working families access vehicles which are affordable and reliable. So
I like the positive spin you're going for there. I think we would obviously be advocating for something similar, and I think for us, Jack, on a White Hat Wednesday, we're just trying to think about how does this, White Hat Way is supposed to be representative of the quote unquote good guys or good gals in the industry. How would the good guys, handle something like that? You're definitely giving some really great tips in terms of, what it looks like, because I think one of the things for me is, if I were to stumble onto your response to a customer, I feel like it should be easy to be able to see who is the sensible one in this conversation, right?
Do
Who is the
we
level-headed
appear to be the sensible one?
And that's the best way to sort of dismantle the situation and sort of create that appearance that, we're just, like you say, be calm, give yourself a day if you need to respond, in a diplomatic way, which is certainly something we're always going to advocate for. And so that's part of what I had kind of suggested is, is our response going to be diplomatic and respectful? Something that I would be asking if I were asking somebody else to sit in my chair and write those for me. It'd be one of the things. And then another one that I thought about is, have we somehow expressed, whether directly or indirectly, that the door is still open? Like the door is always open to have a conversation.
Absolutely.
Listen, right? So I think there's another element that we can add to say, we're not the one who closed the door here. And so you don't have to say that expressly or explicitly. You just, the tone is such that you can say that we're still available to help, resolve the problem. And sometimes
absolutely, Jim. Absolutely. And I've ended so many bad reviews with, something to the effect of, despite this situation, we're still here. We still want to help you. Right. So I've ended so many reviews with a simple statement such as that. We're here when you need us. Just call ahead, reach out to me directly. I know I've said, despite the inaccuracies in your statement, we're still here for you as our customer, and we appreciate you. And you have to, man. You have to leave the door open. You have to show people you're willing to work with a problem customer. You have to keep in mind that person wrote the review while they were mad. They probably don't feel that way anymore.
Probably.
It's probably past. They got home and told their husband or told their wife or talked to a friend, and they said, well, isn't that car 10 years old?
Yeah.
That's part of having a car, so it 9 times out of 10, it's just, if you own a house, the roof leaks. If you buy shoes, the sole wears out. If you get older, your hair falls out. I mean, you gotta go to the dentist. I mean, it's just, it's sure as the sun is going to rise, you're going to have a car problem, and you had one before you came here.
Yes. Yes.
So it's not that hard. I think if you just, the main takeaway, I think, is just take your emotions out of it. Give it time.
Yes. And that was something that we wrote down, is to be diplomatic and respectful. Now, diplomacy is sometimes can be a hard thing if you're approaching those things with ego. And it's like, my ego is hurt, or however, it's really hard to be diplomatic about it and to find a way to navigate. We hear about diplomacy all the time, Capitol Hill and all that, but it's a really important element for us to bring a flavor of diplomacy and respectful to the situation of, like, all right, so how do we move forward? What can we do? What are your needs? And those kind of things.
Yeah. So I know I use the same practice in my relationship with Michelle. I'm always telling her, don't punch me right away. Give it time and then decide, right? So, we lost him again.
We lost it. You probably got a call. Brian Adams posted too. He says the customers that don't get approved will leave a bad review. And that those are ones that we have the opportunity to talk about. This is how we do stuff, and that kind of thing. But let's bring Jack back in.
Sorry, your audio, Jack. See?
Yeah, it's just like every time I get a phone call, it stops.
Yeah,
but you're right about the diplomacy, and it's just it's true. But and I think another part of this is you can call them out, right? When they say to you, I had, I called up there, or nobody called me back, or it's easy to say, well, yes, we did. We left a voicemail on such and such, or we texted you. I mean, I think you also, in this, I think you have to stand up for yourself, because they're going to say things about your company or about your service that are, they leave out important parts, right? Like, again, recently, a guy left out the part where he hung up on my service advisor twice. And I put that back in the review.
Yeah.
Sir, despite the fact that you hung up on my employee 2 times, and we're still here to help you, and it's okay. And I know you needed immediate help, and it's not possible, but I think you have to call them out on their inaccuracies. But it can be done in such a way that, that's still, it's matter of fact, but it's not degrading or demeaning, or you're not trying to school them or teach them, or not really trying to correct them. Maybe you're just trying to tell the whole story.
Yeah. And I think when you have the right tone there, I think that comes across, that you're able to kind of share your side. I think one thing that comes to mind too, and we're not attorneys over here, but even though it's kind of a public sort of format and the person may or may not have their real name as a username, it's still pretty important to think about privacy here. Like, we shouldn't really step in anything that, Brian from Georgia commented about people getting turned down for credit. Sometimes we'll write a bad review. And so I just think we have to be careful, just be mindful of the fact that, when you put that stuff out there on the thread, like you said, it's out there forever. And I think we'd want to be careful not to compromise anything.
I'd like to know more about that, Jim. I think I have danced all over that line in a way. Maybe I won't address the customer. Definitely won't address the customer by their true name or anything like that, or speak about the car. But I have probably at times, said, dear potential customers, we are looking for people that are employed. Like, kind of tell the side of it, or unfortunately, we do require our cars to be paid for. That's how we make payroll. That's how we continue to exist. So I will sometimes give little snidbits, little illusions, just a little sneak peek into whys with very general statements. So I do wonder, I need to be careful, right? Well, and I do try to be careful by excluding any type of, hard facts or dates or dollar amounts or anything like that. But that's tough. That's tricky too,
I think it's fine. I don't hear what you're talking about there being any kind of direct affront to privacy, because I think when you're talking about in a general way to, as you say, potential customers, you're writing it with potential customers in mind, and you're saying this is the way we do business, and they will naturally infer from that, what must have happened in that situation. But I think you'd be fine. I could see myself writing, and probably have in the past, written posts that are of that nature, where you just kind of say this is part of what happens. And one of the things that we haven't touched on here, but you can almost always point to some level of breakdown in communication, right? Because that's going to contribute to so many of our misunderstandings and some sort of conflict. There's going to be something there. So you can almost always point to something there where communication broke down. And otherwise, it's like I always used to say to customers, Jack, ever have my train people to say it, like, there's not going to be anything that comes up during the time that you own that car that we can't work out together if you just sit and talk to me. It's like there's not going to be anything that we can't work out together. So, it's really just about reinforcing communication again and again. Sometimes, obviously, when that breaks down, people get upset, emotions take over, and when we can't communicate, we can't solve problems. So,
absolutely,
part of the thing.
So, Vic from out of California, do you draw the line of service at a negative review from a potential customer? And I think that I might need to have a follow-up question to clarify that. But do you guys understand what it is he's asking?
I feel like he's asking, do you discontinue providing service when somebody writes you a negative review? Is that what you hear, Jack?
I like Vic, man. I think he's a smart guy. No, we won't discontinue service. I think we all recognize when somebody, so the underlying problem, I think when somebody has a problem with service, what I see as the common denominator is they can't be without the car, right? It's not that the car is giving them problem. It's that they can't get to work. They can't get to kids. They don't have family members with a car they can borrow. They don't have an extra car in the yard. It literally is life stopping, and they can't afford the Ubers. So that tries to be the base.
We lost him.
It's been a test, and
it is in patience.
And
for
Jack's
him,
phone must ring a lot. They're busy.
It must ring an awful lot.
So.
Do you want to kind of go from where he was talking about?
Yeah, and we can wrap up soon. I think we covered the key elements of it. I just think it's it's like what he's saying is you want to create solutions for folks.
Hi, Jack.
I feel like I'm terrible at this. So I think you just you have to remember that, and I think you then turn it again, spin it, and say, look, man, we're here for you. We'll get you in and out as fast as we can. We're busy. But I feel like that's almost always the crux of the situation with a bad service, a bad review from service. So, and then sometimes the customers have a point, right? I mean, sometimes if you just sold them that car, you got a problem. So there's so many factors that come into it. But we will at times, if somebody's just being unreasonably nasty, they've had the car for a long time, it's just maintenance, we'll tell them, look, you can take this thing to any shop in the world. They're going to charge you a lot more than we are, or you can be nice to us. One of the two.
Sure.
How do you both feel about, there's an awful lot of opinion about doing some kind of a loaner car or something while they are getting their car fixed. And I was just kind of thinking like something that runs but's ugly, so they're not going to say I want this car instead.
We've thought about this 1,000 different ways, and I think there are people that are successful with it, but we have never pulled the trigger. So many of our service repairs are due to lack of regular maintenance.
Okay.
They drive it until they can't drive it. Not when they don't bring it in when they hear the noise. And so that kind of dictates how we feel about what they're going to do to the next car, or what they might do to our car, or so many repairs come from people that I would just say most of them it's reactionary to a real problem. It's not preventative. And so I don't know. I wish I had the answer to the service car or the rental car, but I don't know that I do. I think it brings on a lot of expense for us that we don't have right now. And I don't think we'd sell one more car.
Right.
I don't think we sell one more car. So that's probably the holdup, but I'm not sure, guys. I don't know the truth on that one.
I've been doing this a long time. I don't have an answer either. You'll hear dealers on both sides of it. They'll say, been there, done that, never again. I mean, and you're right. There's financial considerations, which we can't answer. Everybody's strategy would be different about that. But, it is, I was talking to somebody not long ago who's really in the finance side, not a dealer, who, bought paper, and they were talking about the fact that their repo losses could almost all be tied to mechanical. So I'm wondering, in that context, for you, Jack, like if you didn't have service and support and a way to help your customers through mechanical matters, how much higher would your repo losses be?
Jim, mine wouldn't. We look at our defaults, try to, we're Neo customers. We try to look at them as closely as possible. And what we've been doing is pulling the, defaults that happen in 5 months or less. We feel like that's maybe that's the kind of predictable time period that underwriting should be able to recognize something. If it happens longer than that, or if they default later than that, then it's like, well, probably life,
Yeah.
But we look at why did it default, and we have what I feel like is a low ratio of default due to mechanical failure. Most of our defaults are life events. I feel like, they just don't have any money, right? It's a job problem. It's an income problem. It's a health problem. It's a somebody died problem, drug problem. We don't have a lot of defaults due to mechanical failure. If something, I feel like if the car's got to be in the shop a lot in the beginning, we will, we don't have like an official date and policy and all that in place. But we feel like if it's prior to 90 days and it's been in the shop quite a few times, we need to put them in a different car and fix that car that they were in on our time without inconveniencing our customer.
That makes sense. Yes.
Because you've created they trusted you to buy a car from you, and you've created an unbelievable amount of inconvenience for them to be dropping a car off and having it fixed. And that's just a horrible way to start the relationship. So I don't know that other dealers unwind deals and put them in different cars like we do, but I feel like our problem should not be the customer's problem in an unreasonable amount of time since purchase. And so we try, Jim, I hope I answered your question, but we really try to prevent those defaults from mechanical failure, because we feel like that's our fault.
Well, I guess where I was really trying to go with the question is more like because you're probably doing a warranty or service contract, right?
Yes, sir. We're doing warranty.
Yeah. So I guess the question would be, if you didn't have that in place and the ability to support this customer, like if you were just a lender or you bought the paper in bulk from Turn and Burn Motors, like what would be your loss rate to repos and mechanical stuff then? If you did, if the people who bought your paper weren't supporting the customer and from a mechanical standpoint, then I have to believe your repo rate would be higher, right?
It would have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
we're wanting to lose them again.
Yeah,
we'll just kind of see. I knew that we would get some, because we've talked about this. It's a hot topic. A Facebook user, don't have permissions to show your name. We tried that about 6 years ago with the loaner car. And we'll never do that again.
I think that's what they're talking about. Yeah. And I can see, I've been there too. It's sometimes a problem that way, but I would like to just circle back to one thing I heard Jack say there, that he said 5 months. I used to say 3 months. It's kind of, but the idea is the same here. It's like when I used to say that if there's a problem with the customer or the car, like a new business relationship with a customer, if there's a problem with the customer or the car, I used to say you're probably going to know in the first 3 months. Jack, you said 5 months, but it's a similar approach, right? Is like if there's a problem with one or the other, you're probably going to know that, fairly soon. Yeah. And so this is kind of where you begin to identify that right away. And if you get past that 5 month window in your case, then you're probably, you're through the hard part and you're probably in good shape going forward.
I think, it's just, we feel like I put that 5 month on there because we feel like if it defaults in that time period, it's our fault. We shouldn't have selected that customer, or we put them in the wrong car. If it defaults after that, it was kind of like, well, this is buyer payer.
Yeah. I love that attitude an awful lot. It's, being familiar. This is the market that we work with.
This is our demographic. This is what we're shooting for. There's a reason why these people are here with us.
Well, I'm feeling like we need to let Jack go return his phone calls and text messages.
Sorry,
no, it's good.
I really, really, personally, I appreciate that you're behind the wheel, doing work, doing the stuff, still being willing to come in and add your comments and your flavor. And just Jack, it looks like we've lost him again. Thank you, Jack, for joining us and for being a part of the morning show. And we just really appreciate your support. So I'm going to pop you backstage. If you pop back in, we'll say goodbye to you a little bit later. Had a couple of other comments around that because our topic kind of shifted into what is where does our responsibility lie, and how long is it our fault that the car's having a problem, or is it the customer's fault that the car's having a problem, and a lot of different opinions about loaner cars and those kind of things. And so it's not something we've really measured.
It's interesting that we ended up on mechanical and loaner cars on the subject of responding to reviews. That does seem to be where a lot of our negative reviews can come from. As Jack said, the customer's unhappy. It's not surprising when they're inconvenienced routinely. Then it's not surprising they'll end up unhappy. We know that, and so this is part of what we all work every day to try to solve, so that those customers continue to have nice things to say about us, right?
Yeah. And so remember, first and foremost is you should respond. And second, don't do it immediately. Give it a 24, 48. 48 is actually a really good number, because 24 we can still be a little bit hot if it's.
I'd say whatever time it takes.
Yeah.
Whatever time.
But like Jack mentioned, is that not responding within 48 hours is really not going to be a massive measure of and a deterrent, as long as they're getting responded to in a timely manner. And remembering to being respectful, remembering that you're not writing it for the customer that left the review, you're writing it for your potential customers. Some of those that I don't know about you, and I agreed with them, is when I'm going through reviews and I'm looking at reviews, I don't look at the 5-star reviews, because they're all just like, so and so is nice. I'm looking at the bad reviews. What are the things that they have some friction, hiccups? Is there a pattern in there of what are the things? Because those are the things that likely will be something that comes up. And so how are they handling those? Life happens. And, how are dealers handling those life situations? And part of life happens too, is you're going to come across customers that are hot that, can get all hot under the collar and spurt out and all of that. And so it's just like, these are life things. These are things that happen. How do we handle them?
Anybody that's been in the car business for more than 10 minutes knows you're going to meet people that are unreasonable. You can't ever make them happy, and that's going to happen. And that's part of where your bad reviews are going to come from. And I think what you try to do is, as Jack said, you try to think about your potential future customers, and you write, respond to them in a way that is pretty clear to anybody who reads it, which of the two parties was the unreasonable, nonsensible one. And so this is kind of the approach that we would be recommending. You're just not going to make everybody happy. It's just not going to work that way sometimes.
If y'all want to see some really great responses to reviews, I would suggest, take a look at Turn and Burn Motors out of Georgia. You can probably find him on Google, and Jack he's got just a really a beautiful, I think it's enjoyable to read, but it gives you the flavor of, I'm not gonna roll over, but I'm gonna be fair. I'm gonna be respectful. I'm gonna be diplomatic, and I'm gonna be speaking to the future customers that might have the same problem in the future. Our future customers. So, got anything else?
I was just double checking Jack's domain. Turn and Burn Motors.
Turn and Burn Motors. Yep.
He's in Conyersville, I think. Conyers,
Georgia.
So Turn and Burn Motors. Follow him. They want more followers at their website and on Google, so go follow them.
Exactly.
And you'll enjoy. You'll get some tips on the way they manage social media too. So
absolutely. So like them on Facebook as well. So all right, everybody, thanks so much for joining us this White Hat Wednesday, talking about negative reviews. Tomorrow, don't forget, Dealer Roundup. It starts at
10 Eastern.
10 Eastern, and if you have a ticket, that we will be sending you access to the recordings post live event.
Sure.
So those recordings are usually accessible within the week.
Yep.
So, all right, everybody, have yourself a great rest of your Wednesday. And hopefully we'll see you tomorrow at the Dealer Roundup. Yep. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for joining us.